The topic is ellipsis. See, ellipsis is used for taking variable number of arguments in a function. For example, I want to write a function for finding the sum of elements, sum of integers. So I want that function to work when I send sum 10, 20, 30. It should work. And if I say sum 5, 9, 4, 2, 6, 3, 7, it should work. So for any number of arguments, it should work. Just like how we use printf function. So in a printf function, we give some string here and then we write some arguments, and we can write as many arguments as we want. So just like printf function, which takes variable number of arguments, it works for any number of arguments. So the same way we want to have our own function. So for that, ellipsis is useful. So how to write this ellipsis code and how it works, let us see. So I want this function sum to work for any number of arguments. So but one important thing is it should know how many arguments are given. Then it can work on that many arguments. Suppose I am passing 3 arguments, so it should know how many arguments I have passed. 3 arguments are passed. Or if I am sending 7 arguments, then it should know that I am passing 7 arguments. So how to write that? So one of the parameter must be a named parameter. So I will give n, then dot dot dot. So these 3 dots represents variable number of arguments. Okay. Now usually what we do is we pass how many arguments we are passing as n, suppose 3 and 3 numbers, 5 then 5 numbers, right? Or 7 then 7 numbers. So we mention how many arguments are passed. Same way in printf also, here we write %d, %f or something. So as many control characters we have written there, that many parameters we can pass. So it should know how many parameters it's getting, but it can get any number of parameters. So now let us see, if I am sending this one, then I should say 3 and these 3 numbers. Then sum 7 and these 7 numbers. So this 3 or 7 will go into this named argument, and rest dot 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 are variable number of arguments. Now let us see how to access that. So for accessing this, there is a class called VA list available. So we have to make a list of this. Then we have to take those arguments, variable arguments, VA start. So this will start that argument list, and we have to mention what is the size of that one. So n. From this variable argument list, it will take all the arguments in the form of a list, and how many it will take? As many as you mention here. N. So if you're passing 3, it will take 3. If you're passing 7, it will take 7. Then now we can access all the elements. So simply I will try to find the sum of all the elements. So for that I will take one variable s, that is 0. Now for integer I assign 0, I is less than n elements are there, and I plus plus. For this much time I will iterate, and s assign varg is a function which will take the list, and I have to mention the data type also here. Data type also. So varg will go on getting the elements one by one because it is written inside a for loop, so it will be getting the elements. So one thing, when you are retrieving an element, varg will be go on getting the arguments from this ellipsis one by one, and every time I should mention what is the data type of that argument. So as I know that all these are integers, so I have written integer. So this will be getting all the arguments one by one, and each argument is of type integer, and I am adding them into sum. So s plus assign, I can add them like this. So all those values will be stored in sum. Then finally return s, that is for sum. So this is the code for accessing all the elements. Now one more thing we should do here, VA end, that is on list. I have to end the list of arguments. Then let us return s. So that's all. So what are the important instructions in this one? VA list, VA start, and also VA end and VA arg function. So this is an object created, and these are all functions. We can start and get the argument and end the list. So we can access variable number of arguments. So it will work for 3 also, and it will work for 7 also. So just say cout this one, then you can get the sum of all these 3 numbers. Then cout, we can get the sum of all these 7 numbers. So actually this was the feature of C language. So this is also available in C++. But in C++ we have function overloading also, that will also help for variable number of arguments. That will also help for different number of arguments, and the default arguments are also there, right? So even we can use this ellipsis. Similar way, command line arguments also works, that I will show you directly by writing the code.